Hello everyone, this is be a video on an overview of everything on Cummins Insite, from setting up your connections to fault codes, and then updating an ECM from the calibration selection. So to get started, actually setting up or making a connection for like a USB link 2 or whatever device adapter you would have to make a connection from Cummins Insite to a truck, you come down here to the bottom down here and you would do add new, and then you would go over here and click next. It's going to be an RP1210 adapter. On the vendor selection, we'd scroll down and pick next USB link 2, and then depending upon if you had the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or the cabled USB link 2, you would select that. I know most everybody uses the cabled version, so it'd be the USB link 2, and then you could either select auto detect 1708 or 1939. I always leave mine on auto detect. Hit next, and you could label the connection name whatever you would like. And then one thing I do is click the checkbox next to it that says make this connection active, and then hit the finish box to set this up. So then now it brings up a box here like you would normally see if you hit the connect to ECM box over here. It would bring this up and you would connect to the ECM. So just to give you an overview here, you click connect to ECM, it brings up that same box when we set up the adapter. So I'm going to use simulator mode on Cummins Insite here to go through and show you what it'd be like hooked up to a live truck, as I'm not hooked up to a live truck currently. So this will give us the best way to go over all this functions and set up with you. So you hit the connect button, and then it'll start connecting to the ECM here. And one of the first things that pops up, it always asks if you want to make a new work order. I always make a work order on the very first time I'm hooking up to a truck. If I'm going to go through and change parameters or reflash the ECM, or like updating the calibration, I will go through and make a work order. And then the main reason I'm doing a work order is that way you can make a template later on, and that saves all your features and parameters. So like your speed settings, cruise control, PTO. It basically saves all the parameters. That way that if the ECM does get messed up, or say if you flash the ECM and the battery goes dead and the ECM gets blanked out, you have something to refer back to as a template to flash back in the ECM. That way you have all your features and parameters to load back into it. So then normally if I'm hooking up to something now I'm doing that, we'll go through and hit OK here. It'll go through and make a work order image creation. And this also saves like your injector trim codes or your injector codes. Alright, so after the work order's been made, you can click on work orders here. You can enter a site name if you wanted to. But then as you look up here at the top, you can see our work order was made December 17th at 12:56 a.m. You can click on it here and it shows you it was the initial image. So when we first hooked up to it, this is the initial image, not the final, whenever we got done closing out of the ECM. One quick thing from here, if you're wanting to make this into a template, that way you have all your features and parameters saved, you would right click and hit convert to templates. And then you could label it whatever you would like here to help you remember. Hit OK. And then from there you can see ECM template, shows the date it was made and what ECM system type it was. Alright, and then so say if we did have an option where, or a failure of an ECM, and we wanted to know that this was the right work order and template, you could right click on this template here and send to ECM after you flashed it, and then this would send all your regular cruise control settings, PTO settings, and everything back into the ECM. Alright, so let's start out here. We'll just work our way at the very top here at the file edit options up here at the top, and then like the header bar, and then we'll work our way down the fault codes, data monitor, and all that stuff. So up here at the top, we got the file menu. This is where you click new and you can make a new work order or an ECM image. You can open a template or a log or a snapshot file. We can export the images, templates, or parameter group. We can import images, templates, or parameter groups. Connection, if we wanted to make a new one of the connections like we had down here at the bottom, we can click Add New Connection. This would take us to that same setup where we can add another adapter. So say we're wanting to add a Caterpillar Catcom 3. That's how we would go and do that also. Page setup, we click on this one here. It would show you how you're wanting to set it up. Just like right now, mine's on the label printer, a 4 by 6.5 inch paper. Send to, we could send it to like via email or ECM if we're wanting to send a template to the ECM itself. The edit options, it's just like your normal, like you would have like on Microsoft Word. Cut, copy, paste, clear, select all, find. If we just want to find something. And then find next is if you typed in like Control F and we're trying to find something, then we would type in, say like a certain test, like on DPF Regen or something like that. We could find that and hit find next, and we go through and show you all them ones. View, you can go through and disable the toolbar. We could take the status bar off at the bottom down there. And then we got the view bar, which is on the left side here. We can turn it off. Current views, this is like all your options on the left side here. You can go through and see the current views that one of these options here that's on the left. Go in here and click on fault codes and it brings fault codes up. Or we can come over here and click on fault codes and it brings fault codes up. Tools, it's where you can connect to the ECM, disconnect, ECM passwords. We click on here and you can either set a password for the ECM. So if we was wanting to make the password, make this ECM have a password, we would go through and put in, I don't know, let's just put in like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We hit apply, and now we have a new master password for this ECM. And it's asking us to turn the key off. We turn the key off and click OK. Wait 30 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever it is for that ECM type. Turn the key on and hit OK. Next one we got is the reset data link adapter, which would be for like your inline adapter, so your inline 6 or inline 7. Calibration selections, where we go to and actually select the calibration, or like the basically the software inside the ECM, so that you could view replacement calibrations, show compatible ones, view compatible ECM calibrations, show the active installed, apply filters, certification codes, and so on. Data monitor. These are all the options or toolbars for the data monitor. Trip information. And then options, it takes us to the calibration selection window. Our active connections that we have set up. So like I said, I got the simulator that I'm on now. And we just set up that USB link to earlier. File. These are all the different file types. So like when you're doing a calibration log, this is where it's going to your C drive and the Intellect folder under Insight and Cal logs. Data monitor loggers, log files is going to go to the Insight logs. If you're exporting something, it's going to go to export. Import is going to go to import. Data extraction file, work order, and templates, they all go to these folders here. Our general, we have display splash screen. These are just general settings. I ain't going to go through all of them here. Appearance, if we just want to change some of the different stuff for collars and so on, you can customize the way Insight's laid out. Here's the data extraction, what data you want to actually pull out. Units of measurement, you can go through and select what type of measurements, if you want an imperial or a metric. User manager, if you wanted to add groups or users, you could do so in here. And then work orders, this is where you put in your service site location, and then if you had a provider code, you can put it down here also. Manage license, so if you actually had a setup license, like I said, this one's a simulator mode, so there's no actual license for this version here. Window, it just shows you can close all. tile horizontally, vertically. The help tab here, contents, is where you're going to find like all your help information on that. This gives you like a rundown of everything on Cummins Insight, from fault code, collars, like the lights on the fault code menu, to engine state monitor descriptions. So I mean, this covers a little bit of everything. If you ever have anything that you're wanting to find out on Cummins Insight, you literally go to search and type anything in, and normally it'll pop up whatever you need. All right, so moving on down here to the left side here, or actually let's go back up the top here. So like this is Insight 8.8.2.54. So this is what version number this version of Insight is. And then it shows normally your engine that you're connected to would be here. So like if you was hooked up to ISX15 or X15, 2350, 2450, it would say right here. So like mine says Insight Integrated Simulator because I'm in the simulator mode. Our engine serial number is 0. It would show you like the ECM or the engine serial number that you're hooked up to currently right here. And then the ECM code, that is what file or software version is in that ECM. So under fault codes here, we got a couple different columns. We got fault code. So this will give you like your light status. You got amber and red here. And then we also got a grayed out one down here, which is inactive. So, and then you got your fault code number. So like this one here, we got our amber light, and then it's fault code 145. It's an active code because the light's on, it's not grayed out. The number of counts that this code is set is 1 time. And then the lamp is amber. And as you can see there, the description of the code, it's an engine coolant temperature sensor, voltage below normal or shorted to low source. So one cool thing that I like about the Cummins Insight is that if you click on the little plus icon there, it shows you all your freeze frame data for that fault code whenever it's set, for the first time and then the last time. So and it gives you a timestamp of your engine hours, and then it shows you the freeze frame data from both your very first time and your last event there. The next cool thing is if you actually double click on the fault code, it brings up all the troubleshooting information. So like you don't have to go and log into another website or a program. They normally give you a nice overview of like the sensor or the components and the wires for the sensors going to the ECM and that component. It tells you the reason and the effect for this fault code. You scroll down and then it goes through the description, location, actions taken when the fault code is active, conditions to clear this fault code. And then it tells you shop talk what the most common problems are. And then you click on the blue reference link down here, and it takes you into the actual step-by-step troubleshooting, and you go through and start at, say, step 1, check for fault codes. Is there any inactive fault codes for 145? And then you would answer yes or no, and then continue on down the flow chart. All the codes that Insight normally has on here, you can go through and click on them, and it'll bring up some type of troubleshooting information for them. And they all normally have this blue reference link down here at the bottom to go through and follow it step by step to diagnose the fault code. So getting into like the different colors here, let me pull up this tab. All right, so we got red. That means the fault code's active and the lamp value is red. There's the amber one. That means the fault code is active and the lamp value is amber. There's also a blue lamp. It would have a blue indicator over here like this red option here. If it was a maintenance item, it would be blue. And that means the fault code's active and the lamp value is maintenance. A gray icon like this one down here means that fault code is inactive. And if there's a blank space, that means there's no lamp information available for the fault code. So there's no blue and there's no blank space fault codes currently on this ECM or the simulated mode ECM. Trying to think here. So then it goes through your PID, SID, SPNs. I mean, this is all your SAE stuff, fault codes. Cummins has all their own proprietary fault codes, and then they have the SPN or SAE options over on the right side. To go through and say if you want to clear these fault codes, you can go over, right click, and you could do reset all faults, refresh the fault codes, fault tree overview, the troubleshoot steps, the index, just a bunch of different options, or if you wanted to print them, you could hit print and it would pop up the option to print out these fault codes here. So I'm just going to go through and do like a reset. So we got to reset all faults. Hit all, and it says you want to reset all these faults. We would hit yes. You turn your key off, hit OK. Wait the desired time, turn the key back on and hit OK, and the fault codes go away. And then you can see that these fault codes came right back. Next option here, we got the data monitor logger. Wait for it to load here. So we got 3 different window panes, I guess you could say. We got the parameter groups, which is a group of different parameters. We have the individual parameters for the selected ECM, and then we have the parameter that you're monitoring over here on the right side. So say if we wanted to go through and diagnose a low power on this engine here, we would go through and pick low power, and then it brings up all of our options. It shows our current value for this accelerator pedal position, sense signal voltage 3.44 volts, our minimum measured and maximum measured, and it shows that for all these low power options. So this is a group. So this is our low power fuel economy group. So this gives us everything to go through and try to diagnose low power or a fuel economy issue. One of the most important parameters, I guess you could say, in Cummins itself is the engine's operating state. So in the engine operating state, that's one of the key ones I like, because it'll go through and break it down and what we're having an issue for. So like say we're in a D rate, it'll tell you what D rate you're in. It could be an air fuel control D rate, noise control D rate, fuel system D rate. It goes through and breaks it all down. And I'll post a link in the description here to take you to the website here where you can go through and view all these. But I'll pull these up real quick on a Word document. So on the engine state descriptions here, we have the after-treatment regen active, air density limit state, air fuel control D rate. These are all the different engine states that the Cummins engines can be in. And it's multiple pages here, but like I said, I'll post a link in the description. And or you can pause the video as I'm scrolling through here, certain ones you're wanting to look at, and take a view at them. But them are all the different engine states that the engine could be in for the Cummins engines. Say if you're wanting to start over, normally if you have a bunch of different parameters in here like this, it'll lag a little bit and not load properly. So if you wanted to remove all the parameters, you can start out with a clean slate here. From the clean slate, say if you just want to just monitor a couple different things, there's a couple ways you could do it. So you can go to the parameters option down here on the bottom left, hit the plus one sign on the ECM, and then we can go through and say we're wanting to look at accelerator pedal level indicator, the supply voltage, signal voltage. Let's do the engine state monitor. Okay, so say we got these 3 options selected here. We'd hit the play, and then it would tell you what state that actual engine's in. So like right now it says it's cranking, our signal voltage is 3.44, and our supply voltage is 4.5 volts. And then say if you're wanting to go through and log this data, that say you're going on a test drive and you're wanting to log it the way you could review it later on, you would hit the play sign with the red circle behind it, and then it opens up a like a matrix window almost is what it reminds me of, showing like a computer screen here, logging all the data from your parameters you have selected here. So we got these options selected here, and then that's what it's going to go through and record only. It's not going to record every parameter, just the ones we have in our parameter window. If you're wanting to pause it, you could hit pause, and then whenever you go back and you say you want to start recording again, you could hit the log data, or you can just hit start and resume. So we're going to want to go back and do log data, and then it starts rolling down here at the bottom again and recording our data. One other cool thing is they have a graphical monitoring. So if we click on this here, it opens up an option where we can have our same parameters we already have selected, and it brings it up into a graph view. And there's nothing that's going to happen right in the beginning. The only way to get it to start recording or showing the data on the graph view is you got to hit the play button also. You hit the play button, and then you can see color coordinated, and then it shows the graph on which each one is. So like the pink one here is our engine state. Red one's our accelerator pedal or level indicator, and then our supply voltage and signal voltage for the APP2. And then at the end, it's going to say, do you want to save your log file? You could hit yes, and you could save it if you wanted to, or you can click no and it wouldn't work. Let's see here. One other cool thing is if you wanted to make a custom group, so let me remove all these parameters here. And then we'll go back down here to custom. We can make a custom group. And let's do create new group. And we'll call this, I don't know, CM 2250 low power. Then we're going to go through and select what parameters we want on the left side here with available parameters. So like I said, I like that engine state monitor. That's one of the main ones I use all the time to get an idea of what's going on. So we click engine state, add, and that puts it over on the right side in our group parameters. So now we have the engine state being monitored for our CM 2250 low power group we made. One other thing we can do is say exhaust back pressure, fuel rail pressure commanded, the measured rail pressure 2 if it had 2 rail pressures or 2 rails. No, just let's say we'll do throttle plate position. We'll add that over there. So now we got our custom group down here, and it says custom CM 2250 low powers, which was what we made it. We'll click on that, and that brings up all of our parameters we selected in our custom group. Now, like I said, if you want to remove these parameters over here, all you do is right click, remove all parameters, and they're gone. And then you can come over and select another group if you wanted to, or go back through and select each one individually that you're wanting to monitor. You hit play, and then it starts monitoring that data. To close out the data monitor logger view, there's a little baby X over here on the right side here. You'd want to click on that one, not the one at the top. This one closes out Insight. This one closes out your active window. So the next thing we got on, moving on down the line here, is we got our ECM Diagnostic test. This is every test that this ECM has. Most ECMs do not have this many tests. Like I said, this is a simulated one, so it has basically every test that is on multiple different ECMs or engines throughout Cummins. So some of the main ones that I use myself is the DPF filter regeneration, the Regen analyzer, the NOx sensor test, hydrocarbon doser test, your SCR performance, the system test, diesel exhaust fluid doser pump override test, the heater test, engine state monitor test, and then your VGT high stress test, and then also the actuator install and calibration. So let's just click on the VGT actuator install. It gives you a pop-up window here. It gives you a caution. Your first step would be plugging in your actual VGT actuator, and then you would want to do the install actuator. And it says the VGT actuator must be removed from the turbocharger before the installation process can begin. So you would hit OK, come over here and hit start. and it tells you it must be removed. You hit OK. It'll run through and sync it up to where it's supposed to be before you install it. If it fails, it'll say fail. This one passed, so now we're ready to install it onto the actual turbo. We would go through and install it, and then we would hit calibrate. Once we hit calibrate, we'd hit calibrate the actual calibrate the actual turbo actuator. We'd hit OK and then hit start, and then it would say passed or failed, and this one's saying it passed the actual calibration for the turbocharger actuator install. And then at this time it'd be okay, everything would be on the all good part, and it's ready to rock and roll. Hit back here, say if we did, let's see here, DPF filter regeneration, it'll give you some of your parameters you can monitor here. Like I said before, come down to the bottom right here, hit start. Tells you what all to do, how hot the exhaust can get, 1292 degrees. You can read through this if you want. On here it'll show you the actual outlet temperatures, inlet temperatures, what the engine operating state is, and then it shows it's running, and it gives you a progress bar strolling across. Yeah, you guys can pause the video and look at a couple of these if you want to, but most of them are not going to have this many options. It's going to be specific to your actual ECM or your engine. Next thing we got here is the advanced ECM data. Advanced ECM data. So here's our DEF contamination history. It gives you different levels, and it shows you what time the ECM key on time was and whenever it had this contamination history. One of the ones I really like is the after treatment history. It'll show you your previous 10 regens. It'll show you what your soot load was, the starting temperature, maximum temperature, max SCR temperature. So it gives you like an abuse history or a history of just your after treatment system. So the other cool options on here, let's see here, engine protection, and then it shows you like engine abuse, low oil pressure, exhaust gas temperature, coolant temperature. It would go through and show you an abuse history of the engine by scrolling through here. That's really about it. I mean, that's really the only thing I really used on these options. I'm pretty sure there's other people who's probably used other different stuff on this advanced ECM data, but I mainly use it just to check the history and see if somebody's abused an engine. The next one's features and parameters. So this is where you would set like your cruise control, vehicle speed, PTO settings. This is where you go through and set all these options up here. Let this load up here for a second. So an easy way that, or what most people do, I guess you could say, is they click on each plus icon here to open up each one individually. To say if we didn't want to do that and we had it back at the beginning and we wanted to open all of them up just to scroll through all of them and check them all out. If you come up to the features and parameters header bar here and you hit expand all, it opens up every single toolbox, and it shows you every parameter that is on this ECM. Let's let it open all of them up here for a second. So now if we scroll down through here, it shows us everything about the this actual ECM on the features and parameters side. So the most common thing that most people do is they want to change their cruise control speed, vehicle speed, their PTO settings, and then you can see on here it'll show you what your horsepower, your torque settings are at a certain RPM. So let's scroll on down, we'll find cruise control here. If this one has cruise control. Yep. Cruise control here. It shows our cruise control type, our cancel speed, our lower droop, it'll drop 2.8 miles per hour below our minimum setting, and our upper droop, it'll go up 2.8. So our maximum cruise speed on this ECM here that's set up for the features and parameters is 65. So say if we wanted to change this, we would double click on it, left click, and we say we could type in 90 miles an hour. Hit enter, and it says our maximum speed is 75. So if we scroll back down, put this back at 65, scroll down to our maximum vehicle speed at the bottom under vehicle speed settings. Maximum vehicle speed is 75. So let's change this to 90. And now you can see it shows our value now and what our original value was. If we go back up to our cruise control now, we can change our cruise control maximum speed. We can change that to 90 now. And then say if we wanted to save these settings here, we could either right click, send to ECM, or what we could do is click this little computer, sending it to the ECM button up here. And then we would hit OK. And it'll tell you to turn the key off and hit OK. Turn the key on and hit OK. And it says all parameters were successfully changed. And if we look down here now, it shows our setting is 90 miles an hour for the maximum cruise control speed. So one of the other ones I was talking about was your vehicle speed. We scroll down here to the bottom. Let's see, vehicle speed. Nope. Up. Maximum accelerated vehicle speed, 65. We could change that to 90 if we wanted to also. Same thing on the cruise. It's set at 90 right now for our maximum vehicle speed, so we can't change this to 91 until we change our maximum vehicle speed up. So let's put this back at 90 and say we'll change our maximum maximum vehicle speed to 120. And now we can change our accelerator pedal speed to 91 or 120 miles an hour. And then say if we're wanting to flash it again, we would right click, send to ECM, or we click this computer and this ECM button up here and hit OK. Key off and hit OK. Wait for the desired time, key on, and then hit OK. And then wait for this confirmation that says the parameters have been successfully programmed. Alright, from there, next one we got is the calibration selection. To say we already got a DVD or CD, or we downloaded the file from Cummins QuickServe, we would go through and put it into the Intellect folder for the calibration workspace, and then we could hit ECM PDD, calibration workspace. And like in this one, I got this file here for this one I got off QuickServe for 8.3. So in here we would see a couple different options up here that's highlighted now instead of grayed out. So we got showed installed calibrations. We click on this and it shows us the installed calibrations we have on this actual file on this computer. If we uncheck that, it pops up all the ones that is related to that calibration there. The next one we have is show active calibrations, which is the green check boxes here, which is all the ones that correlate with it. So if you're wanting to find the one that you have actually saved on the computer or that file, is you hit show installed and then it pops it up, and then you could hit right click, transfer to ECM, and then it would go through and start programming ECM. So one other way is on calibration selection. If you're wanting to do a search, and it would try to find our code at the top, as you would hit code search, and it would go through and try to find that ECM code. So say, let's just type in an AB 99999. Hit search, and it would go through and check the calibrations. It would check on the server to see if there's any updated calibrations for this one. Then you go up here and look right here. It says ECM not connected. The requested PDD code was not found. But because this one's a simulated ECM, so it's not going to find anything. But normally any ECM you're hooked up to has an engine serial number with the proper ECM code. It's going to find something, and it's going to show you that what the current one it's at and what it can go to. Calibration history would pop up and tell you all the different changes, what issues they fixed with each revision, and so on and so forth. And then the revision date, description, the engine serial number, range, and so on and so forth. Work orders and ECM images, what we did at the very beginning of the video when we made a work order. Our work orders are at the top and our templates are at the bottom. Our trip information here. Normally if there's a fuel system fault, it'll pop up a caution box or a warning box. And then it would go through and show you all the trip information. How many gallons, ECM times, the miles for the engine brake distance, how many gallons in the coast fuel was used, 7.6 gallons. It gives you a bunch of different stuff for, a lot of people use them for driver rewards for fuel mileage and so on and so forth. Audit trail, it shows you all the different tools that were hooked up to this ECM and what they actually went through and done. So like say that we went through and changed the idle shutdown, cruise control, road speed governor, max vehicle and top gear. It tells you all that at what ECM time and then what user ID or what tool ID made them changes. Inquire data extraction, and then there's that there. OBD monitors. Let me connect back up. Hold on one second. So for this one here, we're connected up to it, but it says there's no OBD values for the simulated mode ECM. Expert Diagnostic System, you would log in with your Cummins ID, and then it would take you to the quick serve, and you would, on your EDS is what this is Expert Diagnostic System. And that's really about it. Like I said, I'll put the description in the description here. I'll go through and make different chapters of different sections throughout here. And I'll also put a link in the description for the engine state monitor descriptions. I find that really helpful for myself in diagnosing trucks. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you.